Hi there, this is Nick Gregan from Very Easy Photography, and today we're going to be understanding shutter speed. We all know that when we take a photograph, we hear the click of the camera as it takes the shot. This click is the sound of the shutter opening and closing. Essentially, what the shutter does is open and close at various speeds, allowing in more or less light into the camera's sensor or film. Why does this matter? In an earlier video, when we were learning about understanding light, I talked about over and underexposed photographs. As a reminder, here's what I said. The amount of light that enters the camera is called the exposure, and so it follows that every good photograph has a correct exposure. That is, the right amount of light. On the other hand, it's easy to allow in either too much or too little light, and this is when we see an under or overexposed photograph. They are either too light or too dark to deliver a good picture. The shutter speed at midday will be different from the shutter speed at sunset, all other things being equal, and that is the aperture and the ISO. This is because the strength of the sun will be less at sunset as we head towards darkness than the bright intense light around midday. This means the shutter will be open longer to allow in more light. Obviously around midday time the shutter speed will be faster, open shorter to allow in less light. Shutter speed can also be used for creative effect, deliberately keeping the shutter open longer to create motion blur as an artistic effect. There's also the possibility that when you are photographing certain subjects, you will be forced to use either faster or slower shutter speeds. Fast-moving objects like sports need to freeze the action and therefore use a fast shutter speed. Another example would be when capturing a night scene where there isn't much light. Therefore, the shutter needs to stay open longer to allow in more light into the camera to get the correct exposure. You've probably taken photographs yourself, or at the very least seen them, where you've noticed the whole photo looks wobbly or the people in the scene are blurred, perhaps at a restaurant or a bar. This happens when the shutter stays open long enough to allow in enough light into the camera to make the correct exposure. For instance, in a dimly lit bar, the shutter has to stay open long enough to capture the available light. This may be long enough to register the movement of your hands or the people in the photo. The movement of your hand that's holding the camera, referred to as camera shake, can affect the final shot, leaving it soft and blurred. This is why you will see photographers using a tripod when working in low light situations or using flash to boost the available light. It's also why your camera will sometimes automatically activate the flash in low light. The best way to avoid camera shake and over and underexposed photos is to move to the manual mode of your camera. And more on manual mode and shutter speed in the Very Easy Photography course. Why not join me in the next video where I'll be explaining depth of field and apertures. That's it for this video, and thanks for watching. Cheers now from Nick Gregan at Very Easy Photography.